Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. In order to do the homework or the worksheet so far, especially 4B and 4C, there are three main things that you need to really know. What is Nasb, Nasb Mansub, right? How kaana works and its sisters, which are the deficient verbs, and finally one more thing, which seems to be slipping my mind. Probably not that important, so we'll just go with two for now. So Nasb Mansub. Oh, okay, yeah. And how attached pronouns work with verbs. Attached pronouns to verbs. So, in about 5 minutes, let me set a timer. We're going to go over all of this. Not 1 hour, 5 minutes. Okay, and let's go. Bismillah. So Nasb Mansub, they're also known as the huruful muqatta'at. No, they're not. They're known as huruf mushabba bil fi'l, right? So they're known as the harf that resemble verbs, meaning that they act in a similar way, right? So let's just take a look at this list. So in class we call it Nasb Mansub. In books they call it huruf mushabba bil fi'l. Ustad goes back and forth with the terminology. So here in this little infographic that we have, they're known as Nasb Mansub. And they are inna, anna, ka'anna, bi'anna, li'anna, layta, la'alla, lakinna. The most common ones are inna and anna. Inna meaning for sure, anna meaning that. And really what it does is that it puts a noun after it into a state of nasb. The noun that it's going to do that to is actually the mubtada. It's going to go ahead and target it and change it into a state of nasb, right? And it turns the mubtada into the ism of nasb and turns the khabar into the khabar of nasb. So if it's inna, it will become the ism of inna. That's what your mubtada will now be known as, right? And then if it's anna, it will be known as the ism of anna, and the khabar would be known as the khabar of inna or the khabar of anna, depending on which one is used. The nasb mansub plus the ism inna will then become your new mubtada, right? And your khabar will be known as the khabar of inna or just regular khabar, right? That's what you just need to keep in mind when it comes to these. So let's look at an example, because that all sounds really theoretical and like mumbo jumbo. So, inna Allah ha. No, okay, let's give another example. Nah. Okay, so inna, that is from that list that we saw there. They're known as the Nasb Mansub or the huruful muqatta'at. We have inna. So what's inna gonna do? It's gonna go ahead and target your regular mubtada and turn it into a state of nasb. So if you see here, usually this would be kitabullahi, but in this case it's kitaba. Kitaba. That's because inna is targeting it. It's your original mubtada, which it's now turning into a state of nasb, making it your ism inna, right? One of the things that you have to look out for is something attached to your ism inna, right? Just like the same way, is there something attached to your mubtada, then whatever's attached also becomes the mubtada. So in this case, this noun here has no alif lam, it has no tanween, and the word coming right after it is in a state of jar. Therefore you have a mudaf ilayhi, and together they're going to serve as your ism inna, right? They're now known as your ism inna together. That would have been your original mubtada, but now since inna's in the picture, it targets them and it takes over, making them ism inna. And your khabar, which is known by being in a state of rafa and being indefinite, would be jamilun, which will now be your khabaru inna, right? So from the perspective of inna acting, this is now ism inna and this is now khabaru inna. And together, inna plus the ism of inna becomes your mubtada, and then jamilun will be known as your ism inna or your khabar, right? So kaana. So let's take a look at kaana. I apologize, I am terrible at typing. So kaana is actually going to work very similar to the Nasb Mansub or the huruful muqatta'at. It's going to work very, very similar. So what does kaana do? Kana, when it comes before a nominal sentence, it puts it into the past. So if it was Zaid is sick, if you threw kana in front, it would become Zaid was sick. So kana shamsu, right? What kana is going to do is it's going to target your mubtada and it's going to make it the ism of kana, right? So shamsu, it would be our regular mubtada. We know that because it's definite and it's in a state of rafa and it's coming in the beginning. So that would be our ism kana. And then jamilan. See, that's kind of weird. Why is it len? Why is it in a state of nasb? That's because kana targets the khabar and it turns it into a state of nasb. It's literally the opposite of Nasb Mansub. Remember with Nasb Mansub, it targets the mubtada and makes it nasb? Well, kana targets the khabar and makes it nasb. And it makes it called the khabar of kana. Very similar to inna. So, shams would be now known as the ism of kana, and jamilan would now be known as the khabar of kana. And together, kana and shamsu will serve as your mubtada, and jamilan will be known as your ism of kana or khabar. Well, I failed to explain that in 5 minutes, but I'm going to keep on going. Whatever. So let's take a look at verbs. Khalaqa, hu. So if you remember, attached pronouns, when they're attached, they look a little bit different than the regular pronoun. So pronouns, when they're detached, it's like huwa, huma, hum, right? When it's attached, it becomes more like kitabu, hu, kitabu, huma, right? And then kitabuhum, kitabuha, kitabuhuma, kitabuhunna, kitabu blah 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 blah. Right? So that's how it works when it's attached to a noun. And when it's attached as a noun, it becomes mudaf, mudaf ilayhi. This word here is actually in a state of jar, even though it usually won't show it. Usually it would be read as kitabuhu, right? And we're used to seeing things that are in jar in a state where they have a kasra on the bottom. So we usually want to see kitabuhi, but usually you won't see that because these pronouns are fixed. No matter what state they are in, they're always going to look the same. So you're just going to have to look at the construction and see that it's a noun that has a pronoun attached to it. Therefore, it is mudaf, mudaf ilayhi. So kitabuhu means his house. So what if we have that attached to a verb? What does it become then? So khalaqa means he created, right? And then hu is actually going to be in a state of nasb. It's going to be your maf'ul. So whenever you see a pronoun attached to a verb, that means that it's serving as your maf'ul. So this is translated as he created him, right? And if I were to see khalaqa huma, it would be he created them. That's it. Those 3 points, just keep them in mind when working on the homework. Alright, I hope this was helpful. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.